as how do we balance between creating wetland habitat and a methyl mercury water quality problem. And so, if we're going to invite some scientists to come in to deal with some of the things that we have to focus on, those kinds of water quality issues, I think, need to be thought about as well as fish. And, fish, well, of course, that would be part of life cycle, but it's some of those other things that that we're going to be expected to take into account as we start to try to balance what we're doing. Someone raised the issue of how will new information beyond these workshops, like the new biological opinions, how will that get incorporated into the decisions? And so I think, again, as we look at the scientists or the panels that get set up, we want to make sure that people can give some guidance as to how we're going to incorporate even more new information beyond the fall of 2012. And so that's, I'm going to be, as you choose, as someone chooses who's on these panels, that's going to be something that I think we should pay attention to. And I, for one, do think that there should be a San Joaquin group, or the San Joaquin folks should be invited to participate, even though I know this is focused on the Delta and they're not going to, they have their own process that's going on. We ourselves have said that the San Joaquin is part of the whole Delta. And so as we think about the Delta and all the aspects of it as a whole, and look at the where folks agree and disagree, and the uncertainties and why, which I also agree. I think that's the focus. It shouldn't be on summarizing your materials. It should, we've got those, we'll read those, but really have a discussion. I just think the San Joaquin folks are going to have a valuable contribution to make to the information that we are trying to balance in the Delta. And so I would definitely go with a science panel that the Delta folks could help, that the Stewardship Council folks can help put together. I'm absolutely interested in what the fish agencies have to say, and the other agencies. And then in terms of how the subgroups, whether they be environmental or in Delta or State Water Project contractors or Sac Valley or upper watershed, can't we ask our facilitator to help put those, take the names of the people who say they want to speak and group them in a way that makes sense, and that allocate the time based on that grouping? I mean, if they're going to be a huge group, well, they may need more than a half hour, but let the facilitator help to figure that out, given the constraints of an overall day. That would be my recommendation.
Tom, I would say, given the responsibilities that we've given to the facilitator, who as I said before, I was very impressed with, I don't think we should preclude ourselves from the need for an additional half day or whatever it takes. I mean, if it looks like we can get this into a long day, I think that's fine. But Mr. Rubin brings up a good point. I think of the 2009 review we did, where we didn't really change anything. A lot of this information goes back to the mid-90s. I think it's pretty incumbent that we, are sure we hear any new information so we can make an intelligent decision. And I quite frankly don't know if we can squeeze it out in a day or not. I don't want to come away from it cutting people off because I'm sitting here looking at the clock, or we're starting to yawn at 6:30 at night. So I think we should discuss that a little bit, and maybe it would be wise to get Brock in and discuss it with him before we, make a firm decision. But that would be my opinion. I know you don't have anything to say.
I don't want to belabor the point too much, but I will agree with Fran in terms of having a panel, whatever we decide to call it, would be helpful. I would caution the use of science panel to refer to this group because really the whole day is science-based, so all the panels are really science panels, just from different perspective. So, I see David nodding, so that's just my little cautionary tone there, because Ms. Kincaid and others are right in that this is the entire day, and all the speakers that will be participating will be providing scientific expertise in some form or another. So I would not call just the first panel the science panel. And I will end my comments there before I wade deeper into this without lunch.
Well, we'll refer to them as the invited panelists. I think nobody can argue with that.
The unaffiliated.
They're invited and they're on a panel, so.
Well, yes.
Welcome, Steve.
Yeah. Bay Delta issues. Well, more Delta. I know about a lot of Bay issues, but the Delta is a new thing for me. Yeah, I appreciate all the comments of my fellow board members, and don't have a whole lot to add. I'm in general agreement. I might use the term researcher, people who actually, go out and get grants and get paid to do scientific research. I'm interested in that type of information. But, not to digress, we have to establish a foundation. That idea resonates with me. We talked about it with the septics policy. As a new board member, I'm committed to establishing foundations for our decisions, and if it's going to take a day and a half for question number 1, or maybe it's a half day for question number 4, I don't know, but I appreciate the constructive idea about thinking about more who's going to show up, how much time they are going to require, and then we can structure the day appropriately, have some flexibility. I concur on, the value of these workshops is the dialogue from my esteemed fellow board members and staff and those who are affected by these decisions. So, I really want to encourage that kind of dialogue format. We will do our homework and read everything and be prepared to discuss what we see, or questions we have as far as what's agreement and disagreement. So I think we're on the same page there. Let's shoot for one-day workshops, but I'm ready to commit more than that if necessary.
Okay, well, what we'll do at this point is we'll confer with Brock and we'll put together, try to think about everything we've heard and put together something, and we will talk to the board members about it. We'll be doing that within the next day or so.
I think the big variable, Tom, is the number of questions, the amount of time it's going to take for the board. God help us all if everybody makes these presentations and we just sit there and kind of looking at the clock trying to figure out when we can get out of here. I mean, I just can't help but believe that this workshop is going to precipitate a great deal of question, and it's pretty hard to anticipate how much time that's going to take. So.
Well, like I said, we'll work with Brock and see whether, as you say, if it appears as though it's simply going to be too much to try to absorb anyway in a day, it might well be worth it to move into a second day for some of these workshops. Anyway, well, thank you, and we'll get back to you with that.
That'll be the end of this, and I did digest your executive director's report, and I'm always amazed at the number of things that we've done that I need to be reminded of during a month, so thank you very much.
Yes, it is an impressive list, but I encourage you all to read it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much. Ms. Nia, that is a very attractive jacket you have on. It's very colorful, and I can say that. Can I?
Ask your attorney. Ask your attorney. Don't ask her.
I can't say anything nice to somebody once in a while.
Good. Well, I'm glad.
So, Valerie, if Elijah